welcome back. We are here in the gym at Hardrock, and Brett and I are joined now with some of our veterans. We have Blake Wood and Drew Gunn. Thank you guys both for joining us today.
It's our pleasure.
Thanks.
Awesome. So before we kind of get into it, I want to make sure everyone knows about your guys' background with Hardrock. Blake, you're a 22-time finisher of Hardrock. You're also on the run committee and board of directors?
And the board of directors also.
Okay.
And I'm the lottery guy.
The lottery guy. So Blake is our lottery guy. We can definitely, I know you've done quite a bit of discussion about that, but our discussion today, we really want to get into you guys as runners, you guys, why you're running Hardrock. So we're really looking forward to learn more about you. And then Drew, you have 9 finishes going for your 10th, and we were just talking about this. You're probably the luckiest man in the lottery, and you've somehow, maybe you guys are talking behind the scenes. I'm just kidding. But you've gotten in every year, sometimes off the wait list, but since you started applying in 2012, so that's incredible streak. Finished every time that you've started, also incredible. So again, thank you guys. Maybe each of you just give us a little bit of background. How did you get involved with Hardrock? How'd you find out about it? What keeps you coming back?
Well, I first ran Hardrock in '94. I got involved in it from knowing Charlie Thorne and John Kappas in Los Alamos, New Mexico. I had just moved there to work at the lab and, got involved in the local ultra running community there. And, of course, John and Charlie were a significant part of that. And kind of looked around and thought, well, gee, if these guys can run 100 miles, I can probably do it too. And Hardrock was actually my first 100-miler in '94. I had actually tried to sign up for Leadville, and it was full. And one day I was running and ran into John and Charlie down in the canyon, and told them my woeful story of not being able to get into Leadville. And they said, "Well, why don't you run Hardrock?" And I said, "Well, I thought you had to do another 100." And they said, "We've seen you run. You're okay." Things were a little more casual then on getting into Hardrock. And but since then, I've run every year we've held it since then, except for 2015 when my knee was blown out. And then last year I didn't run because I was doing something else. So far, 22 finishes and 1 DNF.
So that first Hardrock had to have gone good enough where you wanted to do it again, or like what kind of vision
blast.
quest was that? Like, it was great.
Well, I remember lying in my sleeping bag up at South Mineral Campground the night before and looking at the mountains around me and thinking, ooh, I got to run higher than anything I'm looking at now, 12 or 13 times starting tomorrow. And it was pretty intimidating. But, you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and it went pretty well. Got in before sunset on Saturday, and that's sort of been my goal since then. This is sort of the first year that isn't my goal, because I realize I've sort of aged out of being able to do that. So just going to get in, before dawn on Sunday this year.
Was the size of the race the same as it is now in terms of participants, or was it a bit smaller?
It was quite a bit smaller. Let me think. I think the first year that I ran in '94, we had, I think, 75 starters and I want to say 39 finishers, something like that. And it grew fairly slowly. For the first 10 years, everybody who applied got in. Our first lottery was in 20. Well, it was 2002, but then that year got canceled because of the snow. So actually, no, that year got canceled, I think, because of fire. But anyway, and we rolled over the field to 2003. So 2003 was the first year we actually had a lottery. So for the first 10 years of the race, everybody that wanted to run was able to.
I'm curious, just in terms of the course, I know it's changed a little bit over the years, but were there sections where it was way less defined than it is now, like just because there's more foot traffic?
Yes, but not unusually so. The trails have certainly gotten worn in some. There's much more of a trail in Putnam, for instance, now than there ever was before. Grant Swamp, if you look at sort of a before and after picture, of what it was like back in the 90s and what it was like now. All the years of people going up and down Grant Swamp have basically taken all the scree down to the rock. So, it's actually a lot harder to get up and down now than it used to be. You used to just be able to stand at the top and just start motoring down, running as fast as you could and without worrying about falling and hurting yourself. But maybe that's just because I've gotten older. There's a couple other places. We've had a few. I guess the most significant change has been around Handies, where we used to go up Boulder Gulch, and now we are on the Shelf Road there up to Burroughs and go up a different trail to the summit. Aside from that, it's pretty much the same as it always was. 94, the year I did it, was the first year that you went up over Putnam. Before that, I think everybody just ran up the road the first 2 years. So that was a significant change. But since then, the only real significant change has been on Handies.
And Drew, you live in Durango. Have you lived in Durango the last decade?
Yes, that's when I first heard about Hardrock, is when I moved to Durango. So I think 2009 is when I first heard about it. I'd been in Durango for maybe a year, had never heard of Hardrock, and did you ever meet Andy Hewitt, Aussie guy?
Yep.
He came in to the shop I worked at to buy some shoes and mentioned Hardrock, and I went, what's that thing? And read up on it and got pretty intrigued.
And so you found a qualifier to run and then just started applying?
Yeah, I missed my first qualifiers was when Leadville was still a qualifier. So I finished Leadville in 2010, but outside the time cutoff, which was probably good because then the next year I ran 2 other 100-milers, ran Bighorn and Bear, and I think that was good. When I finally got to Hardrock, I was more prepared to run 100 miles.
Yeah, I mean, this event, as you guys know, is no joke, and being properly qualified is important.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems appropriate.
Well, you were on top of Grant Swamp Pass looking down at that section you just described today.
I know, and we were standing on it for a good 5 minutes just trying to figure out where people were coming up from. I was like, I don't see any footsteps, but I swear, we're definitely in the right place. And
I remember the first year I ran in 94, coming up to Grant Swamp, from the island lakeside, and standing on top, and it's like,
where do I go?
Where do we go now? And somebody said,
tuck and roll.
You just go down there, and it was kind of a surprise. I hadn't expected it to be like that.
Yes.
Drew, can you walk us through your first Hardrock experience?
Sure.
If you can remember it.
I remember it pretty well. I was really nervous coming in. I didn't really think I could finish. But I had spent a lot of time training on the course. Knew it quite well, and was pretty much prepared to do whatever it took to get across the line. And it went a lot better than I had anticipated. I think the paranoia about how hard it was going to be and all the stories I had heard about how rough it can be out there, I think that scared me into preparing very well. And had a great time, actually. It really was a lot more fun than I thought it would be. Thought there'd be more suffering.
Oh, I have a question. So, between the two, you've got quite a few Hardrock finishes. Do you have a preference for clockwise versus counterclockwise course? You like one better than the other?
You want to take that?
The one I'm running currently.
Yeah. You don't want to have that as man, I wish we were going the other way.
No, they both have their pros and cons, I would say, and I don't have a distinct favorite, but I have favorite sections, and both ways it's great.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I used to think back when I was running it fairly fast that the other direction the opposite direction from the way we're going this year always seemed to be faster for me. But there have been a couple changes in the course since then, and I think it's kind of a wash now, and both ways are wonderful. You get different features in the different directions, and it kind of depends whether one's easier or not. It depends a little bit on what the conditions are, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you'll oftentimes see different spots in different times of day too, depending on the direction. I know my times have varied wildly over the years, so sometimes it's quite different, even in the same direction, but it can be kind of nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys, over 30 finishes. Do you know the number of first timers this year approximately?
Yeah, there are 72 of the 146 runners. This is their first time on the course.
What kind of advice would you give to those folks that maybe they probably have already heard a lot, but what would you guys give just from your perspective, advice for them?
It's just, it's kind of like any other 100, but more so. There's a lot of time, so there's plenty of time to recover from making a mistake or something like that. We intentionally made the cutoff long enough, for instance, that people could wait out a storm if they needed to. I've had a couple bad years where I was pretty much ready to quit and laid down and took a nap for an hour and got up and managed to finish just fine. So with 48 hours you can do that. Just keep at it, and as long as you're not breaking the cutoff, there's time enough to still finish.
Drew?
I'd echo a lot of that. I think patience is the one word I would use. A lot of people, if you're not used to altitude and this many steep climbs, I think it can get inside people's heads that they feel like they're moving way too slow, and it's just feels terrible. But that's pretty normal at Hardrock. And if you can just be patient and keep moving, I think people could be surprised how that plays out over the whole run versus one climb just seeming like you're crawling. I think you and I have spent some time doing that a little bit over the years of just plugging away, and you just keep going, you eventually get there.
Absolutely.
Are there any spots on the course, I guess looking at this counterclockwise here, where if you get to that spot, for either of you personally, if I get here, I'm going to make it back to Silverton, or is nothing guaranteed? It seems like every race has some sort of crux of if I can get to here, I'm going to make it.
For me, in just the last few years, I've sort of started to feel like nothing's guaranteed anymore. And I turn 65 next month, and have started to develop a Scotty Mills lean late in the races the last two times I've run it, and that's been kind of disturbing for me. So that's one reason that I'm planning on going slow, and to try and make sure that doesn't happen again. But because of that, I kind of feel like it's not really guaranteed until I'm on the last legs.
Wait, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, for me, if I'm this direction, when I make it to KT, that I do get that feeling. If I'm at KT, I'm pretty sure I can somehow make it, but I haven't seen as much as Blake's seen out there yet, so I might change my mind in a couple of years.
To tell you the truth, I kind of feel like, for me personally, sort of once I've gotten out of Uray, at least I know that for the condition I'm in and the way things are shaking out with weather and everything, that it's not going to get a lot worse. At least I sort of have a feel that this is going to be fine.
This direction for me, I would say Kroger's, up and over that seems like a big milestone. If you're over that, there's still so many big climbs left, but you made it over that hump.
You get that pierogi, and
that's right. The Jolly Rancher, exactly.
I just think choking hazard for Jolly Rancher. That one makes me nervous. Pierogi, though, I'm totally down with that.
Blake, I wanted to ask you. This event's been going on since 1992. You've been out here since 94. What are some
since 92?
92?
Yeah, you said 82.
Oh, 92. I did. Okay, yeah, 92. Yeah. What changes have you seen, I guess, over the years with the event? Obviously, it's the popularity of the event has grown massively. Probably the amount of people involved, even just from a volunteer perspective, has grown, and spectators. Did you even ever think it would get this big?
It's hard to say if I ever thought it would get this big. I knew it was popular. It's gotten way more popular. I think that and notorious. it's been a that's really the biggest change that I've seen is sort of the level of hoopla associated with it has been dialed up over the years, and there's a fine line to be drawn there between keeping it the same friendly hard rock, sort of hard rock family kind of feeling, and having it be even bigger and more notorious. And that's something that we've spent a lot of time on the board of directors wrestling with that boundary. And, I think we've done a pretty successful job at that I think most people, it still feels enough like it did, almost 30 years ago that, makes me want to keep coming back to it.
Yeah, I know. I first got involved in the event in 2007. I was up here just for Camp Hard Rock. I just came out to do trail work and mark course. I couldn't even stay through the race. I had to head home. But it's very unique. Like, Hard Rock is unlike any other event I've been to in terms of the amount of time people come up here and devote, give back, and just be part of it. Like, they're just in town and everything. Like, that seems very intentional. Even when I got in 2007, like, was that always the intention to have all of this going on? Is it just because everyone loves being up here? Like, how did that develop?
Well, I think that probably wasn't sort of the intention in the very early days, but as people started coming up, and, I'm probably the poster child for this, my kids have been coming up since they were very young. And, two of my I have 3 daughters and now 5 grandkids. They're all going to be here. They're all going to start arriving tonight. 2 of my daughters and their significant others will pace me. The 2 of my daughters who are runners have paced the entire course. It's become just an enormous family thing. This is sort of the event that the whole family looks forward to, and I'm obviously not the only one that's like that. I mean, I think that's kind of universal, and that's not an accident. We've tried really hard to make it that way, so that it's not not the sort of anonymous race that you go to and and you don't know anybody. It's nice to come here and see people that you've known for a lot of years, and see their kids and see their kids grow up and know their families, and I'm still hoping that my oldest granddaughter in maybe 3 more years will be ready to pace me here, if I'm still able to do it.
That's awesome.
That is so cool. Yeah, 3 generations getting you through the course. That's cool.
We can hope. We'll see. I'm my youngest daughter, who has run this course several times. I mean, as a pacer, I think she's done the whole thing probably not in both directions. She's done the whole thing as a pacer, but we're going to do a 100-miler later this fall so she can get her Hard Rock qualifier and start applying herself to come run it.
Drew, have you been out on the course a lot this year?
I have, yeah. I've been coming up Silverton. It's only an hour from Durango. I've been coming up for at least a couple days a week since beginning of May.
Could you guys give us an overview how this year is going to compare just in general? I know they're talking about maybe higher temperatures potentially than normal, and then the snow levels as well. Either of you?
Yeah, it's there's more snow than normal, but it's not the most snow that we've had on the course. Mm-hmm. I haven't been out on the course, but looking at the pictures, from Chris Twiggs' course explorations that he's been leading for the past week, it's one of the higher year, one of, say, the top 3 years for snow, but not the most that I've seen. Temperature-wise, we might not get any rain, and that's pretty unique. I can only think of one other year when I don't think we got any rain on the course. So it'll be a little unusual. That's a funny combination to have, a lot of snow, but potentially fairly high temperatures. And, and what's not, I mean, even if the snow continues to melt off, it still is going to be pretty sloppy, I think, a lot of it. The meadows are all going to be very wet. Going down Pole Creek is probably going to be a mud fest, at least toward the end of the pack where I'll be after everybody's gone over it. Every year's got its own unique challenges, and this will be one of them.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys both for joining us. Oh, we have one more thing to share.
Oh, yeah.
So we have one of our partners, Trail Runner, this year has a special drink that is going to be available, I think, at the Uray aid station, but we have a sample for you guys to try.
Okay.
Have you ever defizzed a soda, like a Coke, in a race?
No.
No. Okay, so you're not that type of a runner. So anyways, we have Flota for you guys to try. And so this is flat soda.
Okay.
And it's-
Not any flat soda.
yeah. This is the official
The
Flota.
official flat soda,
Yep. So that's Flota.
and it's what, cola flavored.
It's cola, yeah.
It tastes like a flat Coke.
Tastes like a flat Coke.
There you
Nailed
have
it.
I don't know what we were expecting.
There we go.
Cheers.
Well, thank you guys so much. Best of luck on Friday. We'll be following along. And once you kiss that rock, we'd welcome you to come on in and share your experience with us here in the studio.
Even if we're incoherent.
Oh, even
That would
better.
probably
Even
be
better.
more
Okay.
entertaining.
You can
yes.
just lie down and we'll put the microphone
And just,
next
yeah,
to
okay,
your
there we go.
face.
Stream of consciousness. Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
thanks, guys.